Failure is framing.
I like
If you look at the situation, you go, that was a failure, and now I'm going to layer on all the things that come with failure, it's going to hold you back.
You've summed that up so nice. Failure is framing. I'm going to use that.
Hello, my name's Andrew Hawkins. I'm the Technology Director at Compare the Market. We employ 800 people across the UK and France, and this is my Duvet flip.
Tell me a little bit about your first job. What was it?
Straight out of university at Cafe Internet. The web was just emerging. It taught me about the world of work. Take a risk, be open-minded, stay curious.
Did you know then that you wanted to get into engineering?
No, I had no clue. The actual story is doing what interests you, doing what puts a smile on your face, and doing what your strengths play to so that you'll be confident that you're going to do a good job.
You talk so much sense because it is what makes you happy. It's what you're curious about. It's having an open mind.
When I joined Cafe Internet, the internet was responsible for 0.003% of GDP. And now there isn't a business today that doesn't depend on it absolutely to succeed.
Do you think there's going to be a time where you can send your AI agent and I can send my AI agent to have this interview?
Do you know what? I hope not. Wouldn't that be a shame?
That would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
My duvet flip is... Hello, my name's Andrew Hawkins. I'm the Technology Director at Compare the Market. I'm most excited today to talk about the role that AI is going to play in software engineering in the future as a career. Jack as a host and the show in general, huge impact. Love it. I watch it. I get advice from it. Fantastic. The one thing I hope people get from this episode is work hard, have fun, do what puts a smile on your face, and you'll be all right. Hi, Jack. Let's do this.
Andrew, welcome to my duvet flip. How are we?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to this.
Oh, me too. Me too. I can't wait to hear about your career journey and the world that you live in right now, and you're gonna educate us on all things technology, AI in the workplace, and everything in between. But I want to start here, and I always start here. First job. Tell me a little bit about your first job. The world of work. You're stepping into it. What was it?
Well, I had a bunch of jobs before I left university, from the sublime to the ridiculous. I had my paper round, worked at Buckingham Palace, which you can see outside your window, which is amazing. Installed hurricane shutters in Bermuda. But my first real job, straight out of university at Cafe Internet. The web was just emerging. People didn't really know what to do with it. Just wandered past this new venue opening up on Buckingham Palace Road, walked in, spoke to the owner, and he gave me a job.
Wow.
It was a risk, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And what did that job teach you about the world of work?
I think it scratched I like being on the leading edge. I like change. I like things that are emerging, that are opportunities that we can see. So what it taught me about the world of work, take a risk, be open-minded, stay curious. I think those are the key things. Being curious and being open-minded and taking a risk, walking into a cafe. What was I doing? Just finished my degree. Wanted to be an architect growing up, and here I am walking into a cafe saying, "Can I have a job, please?" Take risks.
And when you say you wanted to be an architect growing up, was that the builder architect or a technologist?
The builder architect. Yeah, it was actually my career was almost defined by a failure. Growing up, I wanted to be an architect. Drawing pictures on the weekend, it was like my hobby. A great offer at a great university. Dropped one grade in my A-levels, one grade. Offer was pulled away, found myself in clearing, and just ended up walking into a cafe and learning about the internet, which was literally just emerging. This was 96.
Wow.
That failure is an interesting one because whilst it's defined my career, because you can trace everything back to that moment, I'm really glad that I'm here. And lots of things that I've enjoyed and successes that I've enjoyed wouldn't have happened if I hadn't dropped that one grade in my A-levels.
Isn't that interesting? Your brilliant chairman, Debbie, came on the show, and Debbie said, failure is not fatal.
No, it's framing. Failure is framing.
I like that.
If you look at the situation, you go, that was a failure, and now I'm going to layer on all the things that come with failure. It's going to hold you back. But I wouldn't have had the opportunity to talk to you now had that not happened. I wouldn't have been able to travel the world when I worked for HSBC. All the things that I look back on my career and go, wow, that was amazing, I enjoyed that. Had I not dropped that grade, it wouldn't have happened. So it's framing.
You've summed that up so nice. Failure is framing. I really like that a lot, actually.
Thank you.
I really like that. Sometimes people come on the show and they just talk so much sense and make things so simple when things can be so overcomplicated in life. I'm going to use that.
It's in the moment, it's not that easy, though. In the moment when that thing that feels like a failure is happening, it's easy to get dragged into it and easy to, oh no, what am I going to do? I've got 2 boys, one 21, one 15, and I've had the opportunity to use that phrasing with them when they don't get the thing or they're not in the team that they want to be in, whatever it is. It's about framing and how do you flip it into, okay, I can do something with this.
Very smart, I like it. You talk about being curious and open-minded, and I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer, go from having all the answers to all the questions in everything you do. How do you become curious? How do you be open-minded? Like, when did you actually realise part of it is about being curious and open-minded? Was there a lesson in there? Did you fail at something? Where did that kind of happen?
To some extent, and this is not necessarily that helpful for your viewers, to some extent it's an innate characteristic that you choose to lean into the change. I mean, one of the things that's defined my career, which I wouldn't trade for anything, is being in positions where change is acute. I joined Microsoft into the mobile team just as mobile was happening. Started a business with 2 guys called Paul in social, just as social was emerging. Worked for crypto.com for a day. I mean, I've been at every kind of bleeding edge as they emerge. And it's because it's a characteristic of mine to be curious about that thing. Oh, wow, the web. So much potential. I'm going to go do that for a few years. So to some extent, it's innate. But if you want to become curious, then the key thing is whatever it is that makes you interested or interests you or makes you smile, spend your spare time thinking about it. I mean, it's how I got into AI. 5 years ago, nobody knew anything about AI. And I, for whatever reason, discovered it as, okay, there's some potential there. I'm just going to go and watch some YouTube videos, or I'm going to go and read, or I'm going to talk to a person who's already in that industry. And don't be fearful of what might not happen. You likely have the ingredients to be successful at the thing if you drop the fear. So I think the fear is what gets in the way of curiosity, because you're not sure what's going to happen if you dip your toe in that water. AI is emerging, but clearly it's talked about a lot. We're early enough that everybody that has an interest in it can be productive in it. So it's that drop the fear, read the thing, watch the video, talk to the person, just be open-minded.
I like that a lot. Drop the fear, because that's where it all starts. That's when it opens up, right? So was you sitting there 5 years ago smiling over AI and what it could do to enhance, improve organisations' output, people, every stakeholder in the organisation?
I think 5 years ago it was a curiosity. I know AI as an industry goes back decades, but the framing of it at the moment is kind of three or so years old. Kind of when OpenAI launched, that was when the current narrative really spun up. And it felt really quickly a lot like the emergence of the web, which was a formative time for me in my career. I went to UCL in 91. The first browser was launched in 92. UCL had access to it. I remember playing with it and thinking, you mean I can get access to, and the information was pretty sparse at the time, but you could see the potential and it was exciting. 96, my first job was in working the internet cafe, which is web-centric, and this feels a lot like that. There's a technology with potential. If we can just take the approach of not trying to attach AI to a problem, but look at the problem first and think, how do we get this new tool in our box to unlock all sorts of value for us? If we can get the mindset right, then that transformation that the world has gone through as a result of the emergence of the web will happen again. It feels very similar. Feels very similar to the emergence of the web, which is so exciting.
That is so exciting, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And we just don't, because it's growing. Well, you're totally right. 3 years for me. If you said AI 3 years ago after that, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm not a technologist. Yeah, I don't claim to be one. But like AI has now become mainstream. I'm dyslexic. And what AI has done for me, you always see some of my writing now, it's just given me a superpower. Again, you have to be good at prompting it. So it doesn't sound like AI, it's still you. I'll just say to turn everything into Essex, so it sounds Essex. But it can be a superpower to solve so many different problems, especially in engineering as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's where the real conversation starts, right? I'm an engineer, always have been. Engineering's a mindset. There are skills that you can learn, but engineering's a mindset. It's about problem solving. It's about innovation. It's about building things. And I don't see at the moment AI threatening that mindset. What it does do is change the job, because the developer part of the story, which is tapping out code, which is a highly skilled endeavor, that will change. But the craft of engineering, of breaking down a big problem into smaller problems, of thinking about novel ways to achieve a goal, true innovation, that's not under threat. And that's where I don't know if I'm being optimistic because it shows there's a path forward for my industry, but I genuinely believe it's an amplifier, not an existential threat.
I like it. How did you so you walked along, you went into this cafe and near Buckingham Palace and said, do you have a job? You got the job. Did you know then that you wanted to get into engineering and get into...
No, I had no clue. Which, I don't know if this is good advice or not. But if I reflect on my career, my career is a description of quite a winding road through a bunch of different opportunities. The actual story is doing what interests you, doing what puts a smile on your face, doing what your strengths play to, so that when you get up and go to work in the morning, you can be confident that you're going to do a good job. And I made a bunch of decisions that took me from here to there. Walking into that cafe, it was literally on the path from Victoria Tube Station to Buckingham Palace, where I had a summer job. There was a guy called Gavin setting up a cafe. I was already interested in the web, and so it was the muscle was starting to build. But I literally just went, that's interesting, walked in, hey, what are you doing? And ended up on a path that, through lots of twists and turns, I've ended up here. It's do something you're interested in, do something that puts a smile on your face, do something that plays to your strengths, and follow the opportunities, and you're going to have fun.
Well, I think that advice is really good.
Thank you.
You see the online, and I type in career advice. I'm really obsessed and locked in with career advice at the moment, and how I believe it's kind of broken and it doesn't really define what you should be getting in terms of advice. I think, again, career advisors, teachers, they try their best to do a brilliant job, but I don't think they have enough resources of information around them to kind of provide the information we need. Yeah. And then you come along and you make it, you talk so much sense, because it is what makes you happy. It's what you're curious about. It's having an open mind. It's walking in to, what was his name?
Gavin.
And saying, Gavin, what are you working on?
Yeah.
And then not having any kind of judgment saying, oh, this is a cafe, why would I work here? This is not tech. But it gives you the opportunity to actually just then get into the world of work.
Yeah, and which, I mean, there are skills that are highly transferable from a cafe to a, I mean, within 2 years of leaving the cafe, I was working at Microsoft. I mean, sublime to the ridiculous. A lot of the skills are the same, right? You've got to keep your stakeholders happy. You've got customers that have needs. The business is always not as good as it could be, so you're thinking about how to take the business forward. I mean, yes, it was an internet cafe, but it was at a time when there was a lot of excitement around the web. TV shows were being recorded there. We launched the Telegraph website in the cafe. I mean, it was a venue where there was something happening, so it was exciting, and that was the key. It was exciting for what I needed at that time, which have fun is such an underrated thing in the workplace. It really is. I sign off all my interactions with people, have fun. I don't know if people have clocked it, but if you're watching this video, you'll probably spot it from now on, because it's so important to enabling you to be at your best. If you're enjoying your work, if it's putting a smile on your face and it's interesting you, and you just follow those threads, you'll be fine.
What a lovely outlook to look at life. And I really like your signing it off at have fun. Because, again, you're not boxing anyone in. It's their version of fun, right?
Oh, right. It can be climbing a mountain that shouldn't be climbed. It can be hard work. I'm not saying have fun is goof around. It's not bring Nerf guns. That's your thing, fine. But have fun is an individual.
So you got the memo today about the Nerf guns?
I did, yeah. I've got them round the back.
That's just like... Did you ever have in your career a moment where you didn't enjoy it? And how did you switch it around?
I mean, inevitably, there are going to be periods where it's not going the way you want it to go, where you entered a situation with all the information you could gather, the best of intentions, then it was good for a while, and then the circumstances change and it's no longer good. I don't tolerate those environments for very long. I mean, you can turn them around by thinking, to what extent is this lack of fun something of my making? I think self-awareness is really important. It's important to put yourself in a position where your strengths are valued and your strengths are kind of going with the tide. But you've got to recognize when the shadow of those strengths is causing you to be unhappy. That actually, you know what, being ambitious is great. Being in an environment where ambition is expected, that's great. But when that ambition starts to get in the way of doing the job and the job's starting to become unenjoyable, then be conscious of that and intervene with yourself. Go, hang on a minute, Andrew, you're feeling like this because of your approach to it, not the environment. But if I do find myself somewhere where it's just inherently no longer fun, I'll probably move on.
And that's having the hard conversation with yourself, right?
It is.
Saying,
yeah.
I'm not enjoying it, so I'm the one who needs to kind of change it.
I think a lot of the time you can interrupt your own thought process and turn a situation around when you are trying to kind of pin all of the problems on everybody else. Start with yourself. And if actually, do you know what? You've mastered your shadow, you've changed your attitude towards the environment, you've taken whatever steps you can take to make this better, and it's still not for you, then okay. Very few people stay in one place forever anymore, so that's okay.
I get to interview a lot of people on this show, Andrew. I just love your wiseness. You're so wise. I love it.
That's very generous, thank you.
We've had the Prime Minister on the show, but you're just so wise. I love it.
That's very kind.
I want to talk a little bit about how you landed at Compare the Market. Tell me the story and the journey, how you ended up working at Compare the Market.
Well, the recruiter reached out to me, as I'm sure most people get recruiters reaching out to them, and they reached out from one of my favourite recruitment agencies, so I took the call, and I'll never forget the pitch was, Andrew, this opportunity is at Compare the Market, and then there were lots of words said. Probably spoke for about 10 minutes, and my instant reaction, no word of a lie, I said, you had me at Compare the Market. So it was the brand. It was the brand that got me on to kind of, not quite reeled me in, but got me on the hook. That such a well-known, loved, credible, it's not right for me to describe the brand other than, oh yeah, I want to go work for them. So set up a meeting with my boss, Sam, who took me through the ambition that Compare the Market have for AI, both within Compare the Market, how do we do what we do? How do we build the things? How do we operate as a business, which I thought was really unique, very ambitious and exciting, but also the role that AI can play in our product as our customers' behaviors change, as new technologies emerge. How do we go with that? How do we seize that opportunity and build a better product for our customers as AI changes the way we behave? And I think it was those two things that then I went, okay, I want to do this. Let's get involved in the process. And then it was actually, and I think this is really important for others to bear in mind, as I was doing the research going into the interview process, had a look at the values, at Compare the Market's values, which, in some organizations, the values are just written on the wall, but nobody cares. Some organizations, it actually describes the culture, sometimes cause and effect, sometimes not, but it describes the culture. And it just resonated so much with my personal values that it felt like somewhere I could, authenticity is one of the values. It felt like somewhere I could be myself. But that ambition, I am ambitious, and I'm conscious of that. And it was a place where I could go and unashamedly be ambitious, because it's one of the values where being united is valued, where actually working with your colleagues, not against your colleagues, to some common goal that's external in nature. And being creative. One of the behaviors under creative is curiosity, which I've always, as we've talked about, held in high regard. So it started with the brand, then the ambition for AI and the transformation that Compare the Market were really wanted to go through, not just kind of reluctantly felt they needed to, but wanted to. And then when I looked at the values, I was like, yeah, that's a place where I think I can do a good job. And luckily, I went through a very thorough interview process. We vet people very carefully. I can't remember how many hours but it was intense, and got the job. So yeah, started a year and a week ago.
Wow. For anyone, just on this point, because I want to move on to transformation and the work that you're doing there.
Yeah.
But for anyone who's applying for jobs and going to an interview, what would be your advice to them at the interview process? Because people can completely change at an interview.
They can.
And they don't show who they are, because they just go in. They just freeze. And some others are over confident. It's not them as well. What is your tips and tricks from a fantastic career that you've had, whether it's from interviewing in the internet cafe or interviewing at Compare the Market? What's your kind of go-to?
I think there are a few things you can do. First of all, have a few things that are important to you that you're prepared to talk about, so that if you get a bit stuck in the interview and it's not quite going, you can turn the conversation to something that you're equipped to talk about. It's important to you. And if that doesn't resonate, then maybe it's not the right place for you, and that's fine. But have some things that are obviously relevant things, but things that you're able to talk about that are going to create a rapport with the interviewer. Interviewing is such a kind of clumsy way of finding people to join an organization, because your ability to perform in an environment like that is overemphasized versus how you might actually be in your role. So then I think it's on the interviewer to put you at ease, so that you can not have the interview be dominated by your ability to interview, but it does become a discussion. Certainly the questions that I ask are deliberately intended to put people in a position where they're just talking about something they're interested in, rather than asking the question that's written down on a piece of paper, because that's what you're meant to ask. But be prepared to talk about things. And I think remember that you're two human beings either side of a table. You're not just participants in a process. And as an interviewee, try and build the rapport as well. Have some things, some icebreakers. Obviously look into the person that's interviewing you, but maybe look a bit further. Maybe have a look at their social media if it's publicly available, so you can see what they're interested in, and just have an icebreaker if there's something in common, just to take the edge off it. But be prepared to talk about some things that you're interested in, and try and take the conversation there if you can.
Yeah, that's great tips, because sometimes you do go into an interview and you do think you go, oh, it's one way, they're just going to ask me questions, I'm going to answer. But actually, it is two ways. But just go in there with your questions, right?
And a good interviewer is not going to try and trip you up. They want you to succeed. So they're going to try and create the conditions where you can be at your best, a good interviewer. Now, you're not always going to come across an interviewer like that. But when you're in those moments, just be yourself. You've probably got what they want if you're even in the room. Just be yourself and have confidence, which is a very easy thing to say.
Very easy.
A very hard thing to do.
So for anyone who's tuning in and they're applying for a software engineer role, they're looking to get into technology, what would you say is a good question for them to kind of have ready? You know that it's that question, that interview. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah.
Or any questions throughout? What would you say is a good question that if you were going back?
Well, that's a great question.
Starting again.
Yeah.
What would be one of your kind of top tier questions that you'd ask?
I think at the moment, given the pace of change, we know in a year's time it's going to be very different. And then a year later, it's going to be very different. I would ask what the organisation are doing to prepare for that. So get an idea of how they're leaning into the change that's happening. Because I think we're starting to hear of software engineers that are reluctant to go on the AI transformation, looking for organisations that are talking openly about, we're not doing it, we're not investing in the tools, it's hallucinations, all the fear, uncertainty and doubt. The engineers that are not willing to change are looking for jobs in companies that are not dynamic. I think if you want to work in a company that's dynamic, like Compare the Market, ask them, how are you leaning into this change? What investments have you made in tooling? How have you trained the engineers that you have to deal with ambiguity, to lean into the new stuff? Get a sense of how the organisation's investing in the transformation.
So you know my next question. How is the organisation invested in transformation, and where do you see the transformation going? You see, I played you right into there, didn't I?
You did. You're good at this. You know what you're doing. You should do this more.
I know. Thank you.
I think as with any innovation is using novel techniques to meet a need or solve a problem. It's not applying a solution and going, I need a problem to attach this to. So what we've chosen to do is the crusade that I'm on, the movement that I'm driving in Compare the Market is to become a world-class engineering capability, truly world-class. Now, there are many different ways of describing a world-class engineering organisation, some of them soft, a lot of them people-related, but the question I kept getting asked is, how are you going to know when you're world-class? And so we've come up with a measurement framework for part of it that describes what world-class looks like. And my entire organisation are led into moving us from where we are to being truly defensively, sustainably world-class. And what we're just choosing to do is say, well, we now have access to all these AI tools in our tool bag. How can we use those to move from here to here? So it's true innovation. It's using a novel technique to meet a need rather than just, let's just use AI to do all the things, because It's lazy and obvious and probably not going to be successful. So it's having a really clear idea of what you're trying to achieve and applying AI to it. And it's about tooling, it's about training, it's about making sure that our engineers feel confident and comfortable in the change, that they see people leaning into it and being innovative and coming up with new ideas as the ones that are celebrated and the ones that we get excited about. And also to help engineers, because it's a scary time to be a software engineer, help them realize that there's an inevitability to the change that we're experiencing. And because we are so invested in leading that change, not just following it, not just being on the bandwagon, but invested in leading that change, there is no better place to cut your craft and to go through that transformation, because you're going to get the education, you're going to get the tools, it's going to be hands-on. In N years' time, when for whatever reason you've outgrown Compare the Market, you will be prepared for your next role better than people that are not at Compare the Market. So it's positioning it as an opportunity to develop the skills. So there's lots of things. It's people, it's process, it's technology, it's innovation, it's the inevitability of the change that we're going through and grasping it and going for it.
And that all sounds so exciting, fun.
I hope so.
And like,
I'm excited.
I can see that. I can see that you are excited, and you don't know. Again, like you said, a year time, AI is going to grow. It's going to change. We don't know how it's going to adapt or what it's going to do, but that's why it probably is one of the most exciting times. Probably a little bit, but back when you was in that internet cafe.
You know what? So in '96, when I joined Cafe Internet, the internet was responsible for 0.003% of GDP, of the size of the economy. It was a rounding error. And now there isn't a business today that doesn't depend on it absolutely to succeed. We're having this conversation online. Mm-hmm. There is nowhere that technology hasn't touched, and it feels the same. I don't know how far out we need to look until all business, new models, all the things. The genie's out the bottle. I believe there's an inevitability to it. There's going to be curves and hype curves and all the things. All of that, companies are going to come and go. 96 of the 10 most visited websites, only one of them still exists, which was Yahoo. Same thing's going to happen, right? But it's going to happen, so go with it.
Do you think there's going to be a time where you can send your AI agent and I can send my AI agent to have this interview?
Do you know what? I hope not. Wouldn't that be a shame?
That would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's not the same, is it?
No.
So you've been at Compare the Market a year and
a week.
Yeah,
to the day.
Oh, there you go. What's kept you there a year and a week?
I think I'm on a mission, and progress is good. It's looking good, but we're nowhere near done. Nowhere near done. So I'm here to do a job, but it's an exciting one. That's why I'm here. And candidly, the reasons why I joined have turned out to be absolutely valid. That ambition that is like, it's an engine, that ambition, you can never have too much ambition at Compare the Market. You're surrounded by people who genuinely want to build something really wonderful, of value, of impact, to make a difference. And being around that's just energizing. It really is. So the reasons why I joined have turned out, but candidly, I've got a job to do and I'm not done. And
just getting started.
I'm just getting started, yeah.
I love that, because that just makes you want to keep going, keep learning, keep helping your team grow as individuals and as professionals as well, right?
Technology is a human endeavor. It's not about the ones and zeros. It's not about the stack. It's not about the tool. It's about the people. If you can get a good team together who are motivated, who know what they're doing, and the technology follows. And I've spent a year getting my team together. Got a new joiner in a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to lock in. That's that's what it's all about. So yeah, it's technology is a people endeavor, always has been.
I love that. What's the best piece of career advice you've ever been given?
Oh, the best piece of career advice I have ever been given. I'm going to answer with a. I'm going to answer a slightly.
Change it, rip it up,
answer
do what
a
you
slightly
want.
different question, because I think this is at the centre of the success to whatever extent I've been successful, but I'm not unsuccessful. Has been watching my dad when I was growing up, and how hard he worked and the risks that he took, and the fun that he had whilst he was doing it. I think those are things that I have chosen to build into my career, that I should work hard, have fun, take risks. And I think if I trace that back, it's watching my dad growing up. So it wasn't actually explicitly a piece of advice, but something that I've internalized that I can see as a thread through my career. I think it was that. Working hard, there's no substitute for working hard. You can have all the ambition in the world, you can be curious, but if you're not hardworking, you're only going to go so far.
I always say, don't be a lazy bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Work hard, right?
Work hard.
Are you ready for my final question?
I am.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
My duvet flip is impact. I want to have an impact every day, big, small. It can be, and I hope it's actually what I get from this conversation. If there are 5 people that get a little nudge that helps them, then that's impact. That puts a smile on my face. It gets me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, put 5 zeros on that at least.
Do you know what? That would be one hell of a day. Yeah.
And I love it that it's all around impact, because I'm only at the start of my career and I'm figuring it out, giving it a go. The business world's huge. And as long as I wake up and can make a bit of impact, I think that's really important. I think today we have, and we will, when this goes live online. I just want to say thank you for your energy. I said it in earlier, you're just so calm. I know when I need a piece of advice, I think I might just send you a message, because you're just so considerate. It's probably the problem solver in you, right?
Well, that's very generous, and I'll always take your call.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.